What's up, guys? It's Diego from the Foot and Fist Sports Network, back again to talk about Week 4 of the Premier League. And as always in this amazing league, there is a huge matchup between two top clubs coming up. And that's Manchester City versus Liverpool. And it just so happens to be the first game of the weekend, so let's go ahead and jump right into some of the predictions. Now, this game, in my opinion, is going to be full of goals. Okay, if we look at what has happened to these two teams at the start of the season, we can see that they do have defensive weaknesses, and they do have a lot of goals in them, especially Liverpool. The difference between their attacking power and their defensive weakness is just amazing, right? Attacking, they really look like one of the best teams that you could see in the world because they have so much pace. They're really good at counterattacking. They're really good at pressing teams high up the pitch, which gives them the opportunity to get in behind defenders. But defending, that is a very, very different story. If their gegenpress somehow fails, they are in deep shit. They immediately find themselves under major pressure. Their defenders don't have the quality to really work as a team to keep away the counterattacks that their opponents bring at them because of the fact that their players are so pushed forward. They don't really have the capabilities of really helping each other out and defending well as a unit, which leaves them exposed at the back. A lot of times their center backs not being very quick, get just outrun by the team like maybe Leicester or something like that. So that's a big problem for them, or even like Crystal Palace or Watford. Players who do have a lot of speed tend to really be able to do really, really well against Liverpool. So we've seen that happen. If there's one thing that we know about Manchester City, it's that they have pace for days and they have quality for days. So Liverpool are going to have a very, very hard time keeping a clean sheet, and I do think it's probably impossible for Liverpool to keep a clean sheet against a team like Manchester City. Now, over the past few years, at least ever since Jurgen Klopp has been there, they pretty much never lose against the big teams. I think they've lost once in 22 times against a top team. So, they do have a good record against some of the better teams, and that's just because of Jurgen Klopp's counterattacking style, and a lot of times these other teams I really have a hard time dealing with it, especially because in the past few years the Premier League clubs haven't been the best. With United without Sir Alex Ferguson, we were very weak. Chelsea have been very up and down. So there's been a lot of teams that haven't really been consistently great. Even Manchester City, spending all that money, haven't really been consistently great. So that is something to take into consideration. However, Jurgen Klopp has definitely shown that in the big games, and at least in the league, because when it comes to cup competitions, he gets fucked up. He has to be respected. So I do think that it's going to be a high-scoring goal for Liverpool. Manchester City, on the other hand, like I said, they have a lot of attacking power in their own right. The big difference is their defense is a bit more solid. It's not very solid, but it is a bit more solid. We've seen this season so far, they haven't conceded a lot of goals, and they have scored quite a few. But the big thing is they have so much depth in their squad that Liverpool simply do not have. If one little thing goes wrong for Liverpool, they don't have a replacement for that player that can really do well throughout the entire team. Manchester City do not have that problem in the least. Whatever player they lose, they have a great replacement out there ready to go. And right now, Liverpool, they are looking good. They are firing on cylinders, but are they going to be able to do that at the head-to-head? I guess we'll find out. We will find out. But I have this game going, a ton of goals, just tons of defensive mistakes. Because even as good as Manchester City are, I do not feel confident in their defense whatsoever. I don't feel confident in them in general at all. So I do think it's going to be plenty of goals for both sides. I'm going with a 3-3 draw. One hell of a fucking game. Definitely one to watch, and what a game to kick off the weekend with. Next up, we have Arsenal versus Bournemouth, and this is a must-win game for Arsene Wenger and Arsenal because already, after only 3 weeks, Arsenal are way behind United, Chelsea, Liverpool, etc. So they have got to get themselves in the running immediately by getting a big win against Bournemouth. And Bournemouth are not a team that you can just push around. I mean, we saw what they did against Manchester City last weekend. They only lost 2-1. And Manchester City are a much better team. Much, much, much better team than Arsenal are, especially right now. So I think that does show that Bournemouth, on their day, and if they have the organization that Eddie Howe does bring, I think they do have the capability of competing at least with a team like Arsenal, even with some of the better teams that are better than Arsenal, at least keeping themselves in the game for quite a while. Maybe not winning it, maybe barely not getting a draw, but they are capable of putting a team like that under pressure. And with Arsenal, if you put them under a little bit of pressure, they tend to have a lot of problems. They don't have any mental strength. They just collapse under all the pressure. So I do think that this is a great chance for Bournemouth to get some points and take away a nice scalp. However, I think that Arsenal are going to be able to come back here and get a win. I do think that the fact that they did win on the national break did have an effect on that because all the teams, they have time to sort of forget what happened in the earlier weeks in the league, get over to their national teams, focus on that for a while and not really focus on what exactly is going on, because the media focuses on other stuff too. So the pressure sort of goes away from a little bit. That's always the national break is always good for a team that's struggling, never good for a team that's doing really, really well. That has to be something to keep in mind. But still, Arsenal, I think they're going to get a good win against Bournemouth, a 2-1 win, but they are going to have a lot of hard times. And it's only going to get worse from here, because once they keep on getting against some of the better teams, as teams start to figure them out even more, they're going to have some problems, and they are going to drop a lot of points. So it's going to be a rough season for Arsenal. I do stick beside my pick that they aren't going to finish in the top 4. So that's going to be an interesting one, but I do think it's going to be a fun game. One thing I want to say about Arsenal is that Alexis Sanchez doesn't want to be there. Mesut Ozil doesn't want to be there. So what exactly is going to happen with them as the season goes on? Because Alexis Sanchez apparently was really, really close to leaving, and at the last second it was taken away from him. Is he going to perform? Is he going to be even agree to play on the pitch? Is he going to actually give in some performances, or is he just going to sit on the bench, refuse to play, be smug, and not put on any type of performances for Arsenal? Is he even going to play? Because rumors have had it that he has actually said he doesn't even want to play for Arsenal ever again. He doesn't want to wear that jersey ever again. Is that true? Is that the case? That's going to be a major factor for Arsenal this season, because if he does leave in January, fine. They'll have sold him, but probably not. If you think about it, they might not be able to sell him. They might have to give him away on loan or something like that. And if that does happen, even if they do sell him, they're not going to get any money for him. It's going to be very, very cheap. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them. And Mesut Ozil, last year of his contract, hasn't signed a new one. At least I think it's his last year. I'm pretty sure. Maybe it's next year, but I'm pretty sure it's this year. And he still hasn't signed anything. So Arsenal are in a complete state of chaos, and that is going to be a huge factor coming into this game. And next up, we have Brighton versus West Brom. This is going to be a quick one because there's really not a whole lot to say. Brighton, ever since coming in the Premier League, they have shown that they are mentally strong. They go out there and they put in a fight. They make it at least hard for their opponents to beat them, which is something you have to respect from a team that just got promoted, a team that doesn't have a lot of history in the Premier League and things like that. So that is a good thing. West Brom, however, they're just masters at going out there and stealing a 1-0 win away. That's what Tony Pulis does. That's what he's always done, whether it was with Stoke, with West Brom, or whatever. That's what he's done, and that's what he's going to do in this game. It's going to be a 1-0 win for West Brom. They are doing really well early on in the season so far. They have 6 points, maybe 7. So hats off to them. But eventually it's going to come to an end. It's just not going to come to an end this weekend, because Tony Pulis, like I said, away from home, if you are looking for a guy that's going to save you and he's going to get you 1-0 wins all season long, very comfortable, finishing mid-table, Tony Pulis is that man. And a team like Brighton, they aren't going to be used to having this much physicality. Yes, coming from the Championship, they in the Championship they tend to play a lot of physical football. It's mostly built on long balls and physicality, so that will serve them well facing a team like West Brom. But when West Brom have the type of players they do have, as well as having that physical game, you just have to expect that they are going to get the win. Next up, we have Everton versus Tottenham in a game that's going to have major implications in the start to the title race, because Everton are one of those teams that have really shown this season they can do some big things against some really good teams. Yes, they struggled against Chelsea, but other than that, they've done really, really well, drawing with Manchester City, winning their opening game. So they've done really well, and there is a good chance of them doing really well this season. I do think that Tottenham are the better team. I think that they have more quality in their team in just about every single position. The thing is, Tottenham, when they start to struggle, they have a hard time because they're young. Last season, obviously, that didn't happen. They did a very good job in the Premier League. In the Champions League, they definitely didn't. They struggled big time. And even in the Europa League, they didn't really do anything specifically good. So that is something to take into consideration. Are they going to be able to do that and rebound in a tough situation in the Premier League? We'll find out, but I do think that they have the quality to do so. Without a doubt, they have the quality to do so. Every single player they have in that team is really, really good. They're really, really skilled, and they are probably future, Ballon d'Or contenders between Dele Alli, not Eriksen, no, but Harry Kane, all these players. They are real, legit, talented players, and if they can just start firing on all cylinders, they can definitely get to where they were last season and really start bringing in the points and really start kicking some fucking major ass. But are they going to be able to do that against Everton, who is a tough team, defends really well, and attacks pretty well at counterattack? It's going to be a tough one, but I do see them getting a 2-1 win. It's very tough. Very, very tough. Don't get me wrong. But Tottenham have consistently shown that tactically they're very good, and when they're on their day, they are absolute phenoms. And I do expect to see them do that against Everton. It's not going to be easy, like I said. But if there's anybody that can do that, it's Mauricio Pochettino, and it is Tottenham Hotspur right now. This season, they are one of the best teams in the league without a doubt. And if they're going to make a title run, it has to be now. I think Pochettino's going to get that point across, and that's going to drive them to push even harder, especially because they're young players. The drive, the hunger is going to be there. The determination is going to be there. Are they going to be able to put it on the pitch? I do think they will. And beating Everton will be another really, really big sign for their season. Next up, guys, we have Leicester versus Chelsea, and I think this has the potential to be another really, really fun game. Why? Well, because both teams also, much like Liverpool and Manchester City, have a lot of attacking power, but defensively, they lack some solidity. And I just think that Chelsea, yes, they did lose that game to Burnley. I don't think that was really the major sign that they do have a lot of defensive weaknesses because, that was just very odd circumstances. They were 9 men at one point. They were 10 men early on. David Luiz in particular isn't very solid as a defender. He makes a lot of mistakes. Last season he had a very good season, but if you've looked at his history throughout the years, he's never been all that great. He's never been all that consistent. I think that is going to come back to haunt him this season because of things that aren't going to be going his way very much. They're going to be having a lot more of a hard time than they did last season. So I think he's going to have a lot more of a David Luiz season this time and really struggle in certain games. I think against Jamie Vardy, against Okazaki, guys who really work a lot, really, really hard. Jamie Vardy in particular, with all that pace, he's very, very dangerous. Overall, Leicester have a lot of power in that team when it comes to attacking on the counterattack. Chelsea are going to have possession for the most part, but when they get broken down, is their 5-man defense going to hold up, or are they going to be pushed too far forward? Is somebody going to make a mistake, get themselves a red card? Because there is a lot of just weird shit going on in that locker room. Like, everybody seems to be really extremely high tension, especially the manager. So is that going to have an effect? Probably, because if we know one thing about Jamie Vardy, apart from the fact that he's quick as fuck and that he can score goals, we know he's an absolute fucking ball buster, to be honest with you. He's an annoying-ass guy. Just about nobody likes him when it comes to opponents because he really is just annoying and he likes to taunt. And he talks a lot of shit. He says chat shit, get banged, but realistically, if there's anybody that's going to get banged after talking shit, it's probably him. But, I mean, whatever. He's a good player. He's a really, really good player. So I do think he's going to be causing some problems for Chelsea, and it will be a fun game. I'm going with a 2-2 draw at the King Power Stadium. Really, really fun game. Next up, we have Southampton versus Watford in a game that is probably going to be pretty interesting. Like, what exactly is going to happen now that Van Dijk wasn't able to find a move? Is he going to be happy? Is he going to be sad? Probably going to be sad. And players that are sad, they tend not to play very well. And a lot of times, you see these guys who don't get the move they want. They don't put in the performances. They don't put in the effort that they really need to for their club. So is he going to do that, or is he going to show that he is worth his pay grade? Is he going to show that he deserves the money he gets, and he's going to put in as much effort as possible for Southampton? I'm pretty sure he probably will put in an effort. I'm not sure if he put in as much energy as he possibly could, because he still wants to secure that move. He still wants that big money move next year. So he should probably still put in the effort, maybe even get a January move. Still, you never know what's going to happen. But I do think that Van Dijk will go out there and put on the performances. And overall, I think that Southampton are still a pretty good team. They're not as good as they were a couple years ago, but they still are a really good team. And against a team like Watford, who have big defensive problems, and they do have a pretty solid offense, but realistically, a team like Southampton's defense should be able to at least keep them at bay for the most part. Maybe concede a goal, but not too many. Whereas their attacking players should be just, with Gabbiadini, they should be, without a doubt, better than Watford, and they will get a few goals. So I am going with a 2-1 win for Southampton. Interesting game. Nothing particularly amazing for a neutral not to watch, but definitely a game worth watching if you are looking at those mid-table teams and looking for potential scout players, because Gabbiadini, make no mistake about it, is an amazing player, and anytime you can watch him, you really should, because his movement is spectacular, and one of his most amazing qualities is the accuracy in that left foot. I can't think of another player who has that much accuracy in that type of build. He's just a great player, a really, really great player. Next up, we have Stoke City versus Manchester United, and I do think it's going to be a pretty fun game. It is unfortunate for United, which is obviously the team I support, that the international break came when it did, because it really broke up the momentum, and now we're going to have to find out if we are able to regain the consistency and the composure and the overall being absolute hot form that we were in before the international break. Is that going to happen? I still think we are. I think we're going out there, going to get a 2-0 win. It's going to be a nice game. I think it's going to be an interesting one, because Stoke City, they have Hesse and they have Shaqiri. So that's going to be interesting to see what our defenders do against players like that, because we saw what they did against Leicester City, who are probably players, maybe not Hesse, but Shaqiri is more or less on the same level as maybe not Mahrez, but some of the other players in that team. Whereas Hesse Rodriguez, I honestly think is probably better than anybody on Leicester and anybody else on Stoke. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens with our defenders against them. But he has looked, our defenders have looked very, very consistent so far. Have been looking very, very solid. And overall, the team has been looking very, very well built. Especially with Matic being in there to clean up basically any ball that gets in the space between midfield and defense, and even realistically between defense and goalkeeper. That's exactly where he lives. That's what he does. That's what he feeds on. So I think he's going to absolutely shut down Hesse. Hesse is a great player, but right now he's going to be finding himself against 4 or 5, maybe even 6 players that are just going to be out there going to be ready to stop him. And when you go against that kind of level quality defense, you can't really do much unless you're an actual elite player. I think Hesse is really, really good. Is he elite? I don't really think so. So we'll see what happens there. 2-0 win for United. Another great win moving forward. And are we going to be able to do it against Stoke at the Britannia on a very tough day in a classic, the whole little Stoke story? I do think we will. And plus, it's probably not cold yet in Stoke, and it's probably not raining as much as it will later on. So it won't technically be beating Stoke in the cold, wet winter night. So that doesn't really count, but we still will get the win. So I'll take it all day long. Next up, we have Burnley versus Crystal Palace. And honestly, I don't really have a whole lot to say on this one. It's not a very good game between two good teams. It's actually a game between two pretty shit teams. Burnley don't have any real quality in their team. Crystal Palace do have quality, but they just haven't been playing well at all. This could be the time if they get themselves back in there, because Burnley are a team that is definitely very beatable, and they definitely need to beat a team like Burnley if they want to be respected as a club that's going to be potentially around top 10. I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in them. I don't have any confidence in them right now, in either team, really. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw just to play it safe, just because I don't really see any of these two teams actually dominating the other. Crystal Palace undoubtedly have the better players, have the better quality players, but I don't know. I just don't have any faith in De Boer. We saw what he did with Inter. He was a massive failure there. He's looking like he has a lot of potential to be a massive failure with Crystal Palace as well. So we'll see. But 1-1 draw seems like the most likely outcome to me. Next up, we have Swansea versus Newcastle in a game between two extremely struggling teams. Like, which one is going to come out there and outdo the other one? And when it comes to struggling, I don't really know. And I think it's probably going to be a stalemate because, if you just look at what these two teams have produced, there's really nothing to look forward to. There's really nothing you can look at like, okay, that's going to be their key to winning. Yes, Newcastle won that game last week against West Ham 3-0, and that is very impressive, but it is still West Ham. We've seen West Ham be struggling big time this season. They just don't look like a good team. They look like the team that we saw last season at the start of the season when they were losing big games. Like, they were losing by a large margin in a lot of games. So I don't know how much to take away from that. I am happy that West Ham are getting fucked up like that, because last season they annoyed the shit out of me. I went to see them play live against United at Old Trafford, and they managed to steal a 1-1 draw somehow. That pissed me the fuck off. So I do kind of have some bitterness towards West Ham. So obviously fuck them. But still, Newcastle went out there and did a really good job beating the hell out of them, just whipping down a team that was already beaten down. Maybe it was just like soccer kicking a guy back in the Pride days in mixed martial arts. It's pretty much what they did. Now, Swansea, they haven't shown anything. But either way, I'm not confident in either team and really picking them to go out there and beat the other one. So I'm going to go ahead with them as well. Much like Burnley versus Crystal Palace, I'm going with a 1-1 draw in this one. Don't know what to expect. I just expect it's going to be kind of a boring stalemate. Hopefully not. Hopefully I'm wrong, because I like to see fun games, and I watch pretty much all these games. I do hope it's going to be a fun one. I just don't think the card's on the table for right now for a fun game between these two guys. So 1-1 draw. Nothing to really look forward to here. Hopefully for True Geordie, who is probably without a doubt my favorite football YouTuber, without a doubt one of my top 5 favorite YouTubers in general. I do hope for his sake that they do well, but realistically I don't give a shit. In this game, I probably could just go without watching him, because I don't really expect there to be anything particularly fun to watch in this game. Now it's time for the last game of the weekend, which is West Ham United versus Huddersfield. And if West Ham continues their trend, they're going to get absolutely battered on this one. However, I do think that Huddersfield aren't of the same quality as some of the teams that they have come against. Obviously, Manchester United were going to absolutely destroy them 4-0, so you can't really take that into consideration. Now, Huddersfield, they have been doing extremely well. They're on 7 points, which puts them at the same point, in the same position, tied for second with Manchester City for 7 points in second spot. It's just amazing. Huddersfield being there, even though it's early doors and it's only been 3 games, still, for them to be on the same points as Manchester City after 3 games, that's just awesome. That is awesome. That is really, really fucking good. I'm really happy for that team. Really happy for that club. Happy for that city. Hopefully for them, they will continue to be able to do that. I just don't think it's going to happen. And against West Ham, there is a chance of them losing, but there's also a chance of them getting a huge win because West Ham, their defense is absolute shit. This is probably going to be it for Slaven Bilic. And my only regret in my Premier League predictions for the season, the standings at the end of the season, what I predicted is going to happen throughout the season, is picking West Ham as high as I did. Right now, after seeing how bad they are, I expected them to start the season better than they did last season, but they've actually started it more or less worse. You know what I mean? They're absolute garbage. Again, I was expecting them to do a whole lot better. I thought that Slaven Bilic was going to learn from his mistakes last season and really do a lot better at the start of the season, but he hasn't shown that he's decent at all as a manager. Defensively, he's absolutely atrocious. The team is shit defensively, and offensively, they just don't seem to have anything going for them. So are they going to win this game? I honestly don't think they will. I think they're going to lose it. It's going to be 2-1, another win for Huddersfield. Will that fucking happen? I don't know what the odds are, but if you're going to be betting on money on a team maybe like that might be low on the odds, or like extremely good odds, fucking go for Huddersfield, man. Go for Huddersfield. Against West Ham? Are you kidding me? If I was a betting man, I'd be putting like $10 on that. Ooh, 10 fucking bucks. I'm extremely confident, you should believe me, but I just don't bet money, so $10 for me is actually a lot. The most I've ever bet on a single, like on a parlay or whatever, is $2. 2 fucking euro. That's how much of a betting man I am. So maybe not take my my word for for solid gold, but definitely take that into consideration. Like Huddersfield, they've been doing really, really well. So will they be able to do well against a team like West Ham, who have shown that defensively they pretty much get fucked up by everybody? I think they have what it takes to do that. I think it's going to be another win for Huddersfield. West Ham, if you lose to Huddersfield, you have to sack Slaven Bilic. You have got to get rid of him and bring in somebody like Big Sam once again, because he's the only way you're going to be saving. Because Bilic, I expect them to do a whole lot better last season. I expect them to do a lot better this season. Is he going to, though? Right now, it doesn't look like it. And how many times can you give the guy the opportunity to fuck the club and potentially get themselves into a big relegation battle? I don't know. He might be up there with Antonio Conte right now as the most likely to get sacked. Chelsea have turned it around. West Ham, are they going to turn it around and possibly save Bilic? I guess we'll find out. We will find out. Alright guys, that is it for the video. If you enjoyed it, please soccer kick the shit out of that like button down there. Please comment, let me know what you think is going to happen in each of these games. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Am I insane? Am I brilliant? Is my betting prowess absolutely insanely perfect? Let me know all these things in the comment section down below. If you want to share the video, please do that. That's extremely helpful. I'm extremely grateful to anybody who does that. The next video will probably be a UFC 215 prediction video, and then it's going to be the Premier League aftermath, and then the UFC Fight Fallout show. So all these things are coming to you. Things are really starting to kick on. Sports are back. The major sports that I love. Fuck boxing. Fuck all that shit. Basketball will be coming very, very soon as well. I also have a gaming channel, so make sure you check that out. That will also be in the link in the description down below. FIFA's going to be coming out very soon. NBA Live, NBA 2K, all that's going to be coming out. So lots of content for you guys coming out soon. Thank you so much for watching once again, guys. I've been Diego from the Footy Fit Sports Network, and I will see you in the next video.